Alright, real talk. When was the last time you properly got excited about a teenage footballer? Like, not just, oh, that's a nice goal, but genuinely excited, thinking, like, this kid's gonna be special. Okay, take a step back. What were you actually excited about? His talent? Or were you excited about being right, spotting something before everyone else did? Because here's what I've realized, we've sort of built this entire system around teenage footballers that's kind of broken. And I'm not talking about broken in the, oh, the transfer market is crazy way. I'm talking about we might be generally messing up these kids' lives way. Let me show you what I mean. Rewind back to late 2022 and meet Endrick. He's 16 and Real Madrid just dropped 60 million pounds on him. He's barely played a full professional season, and at that moment, half the football world is already convinced that he's the next big thing, while the other half is already calling him overhyped. The thing that worries me is that both sides might be part of the same problem. Let's think about how this actually works. Some 16-year-old scores an absolute banger in a youth tournament somewhere. Could be anywhere, Brazil, Spain, some academy you've never heard of. Someone's parent films it on their phone. Normal stuff, right? Kids score great goals all the time. But here's where it gets weird. 6 hours later, that clip has 3 million views. By tomorrow morning, there are YouTube breakdowns, Twitter threads, and somehow this kid is now worth 20 million according to internet speculation. By next week, if he has one average game, people are calling him a flop. We just essentially took a teenager's moment of joy and turned it into global entertainment faster than he could even process what happened. That's kind of messed up when you actually think about it. And look, I need to be honest with you. The algorithm that got you to click on this video, it's the same system that's doing it to these kids. Let me break it down how it actually works, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Social media platforms use this thing called a warm start algorithm. They don't just blast content to everyone immediately. First, they test it with people who already watch football content regularly. These are the diehards, the daily scrollers. If those people engage quickly, and I mean within minutes, then it gets pushed to the casual football fans. And if they engage hard enough, it explodes to everyone else. The whole thing is designed to turn human moments into engagement metrics. What we've done, we've basically gamified childhood. The uncomfortable part is that your brain is completely wired to fall for it. So why can't we resist this stuff, you might ask? Why do we keep doing it? Well, your brain is kind of lying to you about these kids, and it's not your fault. You see, we're hardwired to seek out novelty. It's the same reason you want to travel to new places instead of just staying in your hometown forever. It's survival instinct stuff. It gets interesting with football. When you watch Messi score a goal, your brain processes that as a known outcome. It's beautiful, it's impressive, but it's expected. Now, when you watch a 16-year-old score the same goal, your brain lights up completely differently. There's actual neuroscience on this. Anticipating a reward gives you more dopamine than actually getting the reward. The what if is literally more addictive than what is. Even Messi at his absolute peak feels like a known quantity because we've watched his whole story. But this random kid from Brazil, he could be anything. And that dopamine hit from thinking you've discovered the next big thing, it's more powerful than appreciating what's already in front of you. Okay, quick experiment. When was the last time you just sat back and just appreciated Mohamed Salah doing his thing? Like, really appreciated how insanely good he is at his age right now. Now, compare that to how quickly you get excited about some 17-year-old you saw on a TikTok compilation last week. Yeah, we're all doing this. Watch Barcelona fans sing Lamine Yamal's name. On the surface, they're celebrating a talented young player. But if you really look at what's happening, it's almost like grief therapy. Post-Messi Barcelona feels, for the most part, empty. These fans aren't just excited about Yamal's potential, they're desperately trying to fill a void. They're projecting their need for salvation onto a teenager. It's basically the same thing that happened with Manchester United fans and Marcus Rashford back in the day. Same thing that might potentially happen at Arsenal with Max Dowman. There's actually a term for this, the blank canvas effect. These kids haven't failed yet, so they represent infinite possibilities. We're really not celebrating their talent. We're using them as emotional support systems for our sporting anxieties. And that's a lot of pressure to put on a kid, right? Let me take you back to early 2000s for a second. If you wanted to know about a promising young player, you'd have to wait for Match of the Day or read about them in a football magazine. Fast forward to 2025, you know about them before their voice is fully broken. That right there is not evolution, that's acceleration. For example, Wayne Rooney's breakthrough felt organic. You watched him develop season by season, goal by goal, story by story. The hype around him built gradually, it felt earned. But now, just pull up any Wonderkid highlight reel. You'll see 15-second clips completely stripped of context, isolated in hype that millions of people tune into. The speed of hype has increased by what, like 1,000 times, but the depth has decreased proportionally. Social media algorithms don't care about player development, they care about engagement. And 16-year-old better than Messi gets way more clicks than 16-year-old shows genuine promise and could develop into something special with proper support. Unfortunately, echo chambers easily form where you only see content that confirms whatever narrative you already believe. 3-second clips easily become proof of genius, and training ground nutmegs get treated like evidence of world-class ability. And then there's Football Manager. I'm trash at that game, don't get me wrong, but millions of people think they know teenagers from obscure leagues because they manage them in a video game. I'm afraid we're applying video game logic to actual human development. We're treating kids like they're stats on a spreadsheet. But it's not just football, right? This is everywhere now. For example, the tech industry celebrates teenage entrepreneurs. The music industry is constantly searching for the next big artist. And social media algorithms actually push younger creators because younger equals more authentic, more potential. We've developed this cultural belief that newer is better, faster is more valuable, and football is just the most visible version of it. But it's also showing us something uncomfortable about who we've become as a culture. We've taken instant gratification and applied it to human development. We've become impatient with natural growth, and the present moment is just never enough. We're always looking for what's next. The Messi Ronaldo era is ending. That terrifies people. We can't just sit back and appreciate the greatness. We need replacements right now. But that's not excitement about the future. That's anxiety about the present dressed up as optimism. Okay, so this is where things get heavy. There's a real human cost to all of this that we don't talk about enough. Freddie Adu, if you're not familiar, was 14 years old when America decided he was the next Pele. 14. He was dealing with puberty and algebra homework when the media decided his career path. The pressure to be spectacular every single time, it derailed his natural growth. Another example, Bojan Krkić, he was Barcelona's golden boy at 17, scoring bangers, getting compared to Messi daily. But the anxiety and pressure broke something. His career stagnated, and years later, he talked about the mental health crisis he went through, the crisis that was hidden behind the failed Wonderkid narrative everyone was writing about him. In this attention economy we've built, these kids become content creators before they become athletes. Their validation comes from likes and views, not from actual development, and brands then slide to their DMs with commercial deals. We're literally commodifying childhood for digital engagement, and somewhere within all this noise, actual human beings are just trying to figure out who they are. And before you start thinking that this is just about big clubs and trashy media, let's just be real. You clicked on this video. You've most likely watched Wonderkid compilations. You've had opinions about teenagers you've never met, playing in leagues that you don't even watch, and for clubs you don't even support. Look, I've done it too, and we're all feeding this machine, and honestly, the first step is just admitting that we're part of the problem. But before that, let's talk about the big institutions that make this worse though, because they absolutely do. We all know about Ajax and how famous they are for developing talent. Their academy is legendary, but even that success creates a problem. Every single graduate gets positioned as the next big thing from the Wonderkid factory, before they've even proven anything at professional level. The media expectations get baked in right into the system. Everyone celebrates the De Jongs and the De Ligts, but nobody talks about the silent majority who don't make it. The pressure of being from Ajax can just be as crushing as it is motivating. In the transfer market, it's lost all perspective. Clubs are inflating prices based on potential rather than performance. Every signing has to be marketed as the future of the club because that's what sells season tickets and generates social media engagement. So when a teenager costs £60 million, every single mistake gets magnified. The financial pressure creates performance pressure, which creates more financial pressure. The media plays a big role in this because they have essentially industrialized lazy journalism. Every skillful teenager becomes a new Messi. Every fast winger is the next Ronaldo. We reduce complex, unique players to simple comparisons, and the cycle is so predictable at times. First, there's the build-up phase. This Wonderkid will save the club. Then comes the pressure phase. Unrealistic expectations get set. Then there's the human phase. The kid shows normal teenage inconsistency because, he's a teenager. And then there's the teardown phase. Overrated flop narratives take over. Finally, there's a reset phase. Find a new Wonderkid and start over. I know what you're probably thinking. So what about the kids who actually make it though? What's different about their stories? Well, usually it's strong family support systems that prioritize the person over the player. Parents who create boundaries and clubs that actually protect their young players from media exposure instead of parading them around for clicks. Kylian Mbappe said something recently that stuck with me. He said he wouldn't let his own son play professional football based on everything he's experienced. Let that sink in. One of the most successful players of this generation, someone who seemingly did everything right, who has more money and trophies than most players would dream of, he wouldn't want to have his kid become a Project Mbappe? That should tell you everything about what these wonder kids face behind closed doors. And some academies handle this better than others. Ajax, despite the pressure they create, also have holistic support systems that prioritize the player welfare alongside performance. This is important because real development happens away from cameras. It's about measuring progress, not just performance. Celebrating the learning process, not just the winning. But that does not generate clicks, does it? It does not go viral and doesn't feed the algorithm. So what actually needs to change? And I mean realistically, not just everyone should be better. For us fans, and I'm including myself here, we need to consume this content more responsibly. I get it. Football runs our lives. It connects us. It gives us community and meaning and something to care about. But maybe we could appreciate the players who are actually performing right now instead of constantly searching for the next one. And when the next talent does emerge, because they always do, maybe we could resist the urge to project adult expectations onto children. Yes, these kids are professionals. They're going to face criticism. That's part of sports. But imagine if your job performance was measured every single minute by millions of random strangers who've never met you, don't understand your context, don't know what's happening in your life, but feel completely entitled to judge you because they bought a product your company makes. That's what we're asking of these wonder kids. It's harder to tune out than you think. For media, and look, I know the economics are brutal, but age-appropriate coverage matters. Context over clickbait matters, even when clickbait pays better. There's a responsibility to protect developing minds, even when exploitation would make more engagement. I personally fall for clickbait all the time. I'm not immune, but I think in a few years, audiences are going to get more selective about the content they consume. Not because there won't be enough of it, but because there'll be so much garbage that people get exhausted trying to filter it. For clubs and their academies, they need to adopt a player-first approach. Long-term human development over short-term profit. They need to prioritize welfare over commercial potential. If you can show young players that you'll actually support them and protect them the way you did for your successful graduates, that becomes your competitive advantage. That's how you actually attract the best talent in the long run. So maybe it's time we let wonder kids just be kids, and maybe it's time we appreciate what we have instead of constantly chasing what might be. Because the next Messi isn't coming. There is only one Messi, and honestly, that might be the best news these kids could get. Because maybe we'd finally just let them play football. Alright, that's it for me. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm totally off base here or if this resonates. And hey, maybe share which young player you're genuinely excited about and why, but like in a healthy way, if that's even possible anymore. But anyways, I'll see you in the next one.